We are back.
What is up, everybody? Hello, Mr. Alecc. How are you?
How you doing, Gus? Good to see you again. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah? Yeah?
Surviving this coronavirus still.
Yep. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, trapped inside a house. I feel like Tim the Two-Man Taylor. My wife's got me doing some home improvement stuff around the house.
I've been burying myself in external hard drives and just cleaning up files and moving things this way and moving things that way, deleting stuff that I didn't need for over a decade. Just cleaning it all up. I see you got Rocky behind you.
Yeah. I got, this is one of my favorite screen printed posters that I got. So this is Rocky from the first Rocky. And that's a dog that you hear as well. I guess she was excited.
But last time you had Matrix behind you.
Yeah.
So you collect posters, right? Tell us a little bit about like your collectibles and how long you've been doing it.
I am I collect movie posters. Mainly, I've collected throughout my life. I've collected theatrical print posters. So anything that comes from the theater as marketing material. Those are a lot bigger than this by 2 inches or a little bit more. 27 by 40, where these are 24 by 36. And when you work inside the movie theater or when you have a friend that works for a movie theater, you're able to get all these different types of material for free. It was kind of like the perk of working in a movie theater. You would get this poster, unless it was Star Wars or something very specific. On rare occasion, they would ask for it back. George Lucas was like that during the first 3 prequels of Star Wars, but people got away with it because they would say they would just destroy it or whatever.
Right.
But I collect now this, which is screen printed posters for over 10 years. And I just want to let everybody know that it is not a cheap hobby to have. It's not at all. So
Do you think, with everybody at home, nobody working, like people such as yourself, collecting posters, collecting movie, memorabilia, has that taken a hit, you think, on sellers or sellers dropping their prices? Because, everybody hits the eBay, get things for cheap, and then they rack up the price for people that are collecting.
So you can definitely, on a poster market, for instance, I'm in a couple different Facebook groups, and I'm also on a couple different other websites. So you can definitely see the difference between people who are buying things for resale value, right? And you can see the difference in people who have a collection and now they're needing to sell it because of financial times, hardships. So when you look at a poster, I've been really lucky lately. I've been able to get a bunch of my posters, below market value or just at market value without the high markup. But there's still ridiculous. The best example I can use is 2. The Star Wars set, which is the original Star Wars, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It's by it's a Mondo Posters collection, 3 of them, and it's by artist named Stout. He goes by Stout. That set, 2,400, 2,600, maybe if you're getting it from a collector who needs to sell it to another actual avid collector, you can probably get it for 12, 15, but that's like once in a blue moon thing. Rocky 4, there's a Rocky 4 out there. I'm probably going to botch his name up, but his last name is Edmonston, and it's a beautiful poster. I recommend people look at it. It is phenomenal. Even Stallone's posted it on his Instagram, and it's from 2014 or 15, and that was selling market value at like $450, but now it's like $850. So it's some people are dumping posters. I've been lucky. I've gotten a couple more Rambo and Rocky prints at market value or below it, like I said. But the market is a weird thing right now. Some people are selling because they need money, but there's still people on eBay that are trying to get hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a print. So DVDs, I don't know. I buy DVDs because I like me and you both like actual tangible physical stuff. Yeah. So we like to actually physically touch things. Vinyl, that's a different market because vinyl has actually been upselling CDs lately. So I don't think anything's changing there. CD wise, I don't think people are buying CDs, personally.
Yeah.
But
I think the CD market's over. Blu-rays are still hanging in there. I personally, like, if I'm buying a movie, I'm buying a Blu-ray with the digital copy now, trying to build that library, just preparing for the eventual phase out of all that stuff.
Tangible stuff.
I'll keep a Blu-ray player as long as they exist. But I have a feeling once my son grows up, we might get to a point where there's just no Blu-ray, everything's digital.
So I have
but,
a VHS player.
Yeah, I got a VHS. I got the VHS DVD combo, but I haven't used it in a while.
Oh.
So let's say you've been home for, what, 2 or 3 weeks since the last time we talked?
Yep.
You seen anything worthwhile at home?
On my end, I've been on a monster kick. I think we talked about that last time, and I've actually been doing monster movies lately. So last night I actually watched the original first Invisible Man, H.G. Wells' Invisible Man, 1933 maybe?
Because the last classic you saw when we last talked was The Mummy, right?
Was The Mummy. So I did like King Kong movies, and then I did The Mummy, and now I'm kind of going back into that. But I'm doing a couple TV shows. Have you watched Hollywood on Netflix yet?
I have not. Somebody else told me to check it out.
It's great, and anybody out there wants to watch it, if you think that show is over exaggerating on how much sexual favors get thrown around in Hollywood, this show is not even the tip of the iceberg. Let me tell you, because the things that they do on the show, I'm just like, I can see that. I'm not gonna put my personal.
You got to wonder if things are changing, though. You got to hope that things are changing for the better. I mean, I'm sure there's still aspects on the lower scale, probably on the more independent front or whatever. But it's harder for these high-end producers to get away with stuff like that now, because I feel like everybody has enough support to actually call them out on it.
Yeah, this show doesn't really do a lot of hand twisting. I guess it's not like rape or cornering people. Well, at least I haven't gotten to that part of the season yet.
Right.
It's
just a favor. You do this for me.
Yeah, or it's like I need to get my foot in the door. Like for example, he's meeting people in the industry because he's doing sexual favors. So it's like, okay, well, I'll just do it this one time. Oh, I meet somebody else, I'll do it this time. Oh, I'll do it somebody. Then it kind of just dominoes from there. But I've been watching that. Just between Home Improvement and trying to watch things, it has been kind of difficult. But what about you? Have you watched any movies lately?
It is tough. I get you on the home improvement stuff, doing a little bit of stuff here, like I said, with the drives, but also like the baby, like tending to the baby and actually having the energy to watch anything at the end of the night is tough. So I'm chipping away at shows here and there. I just finished season 1 of Briar Patch, the Rosario Dawson show on USA, which was okay. Very stylish, but not a lot there past that. Finished the latest season of Better Call Saul. I'm almost done with Westworld season 3, which has been pretty solid. But the surprising one, which you don't find surprising because you talked about this for a while, is Bad Boys for Life, Bad Boys Tree.
Bad Boys for Life.
That was actually really entertaining. It was a lot of fun. I didn't think the trailers were very good for it.
I can agree with that.
It didn't have the same kind of like flash as the Michael Bay Bad Boy films in the trailer anyway. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this just feels like, another money grab, another Men in Black 3, another late sequel.
Men in Black
3. Men in Black 3 is a waste. Yeah.
No way.
Best thing about Men in Black 3 was Brolin's Tommy Lee impression. But Will Smith just looked bored in Men in Black 3. He looked super bored.
That's that ending. The ending with the whole father moment. That didn't tug at you. That was like,
But Bad Boys, like, surprisingly, I think Bad Boys for Life had the most plot out of the whole series. Like the first movie is like, okay, drug deal gone wrong, got to protect the witness. Very simple, straightforward 80s, 90s type, action movie, action comedy. But this had a lot of, like, you actually got to learn more about Will Smith than you learned in any of the previous films, his character. And I think, there's a really good reveal later on in the film, which I was like, this movie doesn't even deserve to have this good of a reveal. It's supposed to be a silly action movie, and this is a really good reveal. It was like, this movie surprising me on multiple levels.
I thought the cameos were better than the reveals, in my opinion.
Yeah, the cameos were good. I think the weakest part of the movie is probably Martin Lawrence, because I don't know if he's just been out of the game for a while, but he felt like slower, not just because like he was like heavier or anything like that, but he felt like his speech was slower. I don't know if you noticed that, like, you know, he's like he was almost medicated. That's what it felt like.
I mean, well, is that part of his character though? If you were to think about it, where he's already retired, he's a grandpa now.
Yeah, I don't
he's
know.
Just,
I gotta. We'll see in the next one, which they obviously set up for another one.
yes.
But I saw him on HBO's The Shop. I don't know if you ever watched that show, LeBron James talk
I've
show.
heard of
It's
it,
like in
but
a barbershop.
I haven't watched it.
It's really great. And, you know, it's a cool concept. But seeing him there, he was like normal Martin. Like he was just like talking normal. I was just like, maybe he just needed to knock the rust off, and he'll be a little bit more energized in the next one. But that was like, Bad Boys for Life is super lucky considering all these other movies that got pushed out of the theater or shorter. It's gonna go down probably as the highest grosser of the year.
So yeah, it actually broke a couple records so far because it ran until mid-March, and it broke records for a rated R film. So it was like they got lucky. I mean, because anything that gets
Super
dropped
lucky.
in January and February, you're usually like, oh,
It's usually
yeah, this is not gonna be good. So
like Kristen Stewart's Underwater for an example.
oh yeah.
That's the very definition of a January movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that. Jesus, why'd you put that back in my mind? What?
I did see that. I don't know if it was before our last episode, but I saw it at home and I was like, there's just nothing to this movie. Like it starts, the base is falling apart, and it's kind of like a ride, which is okay sometimes. You know, we talked about that last time with like 1917 and Mad Max, but there's so many like could have been suspenseful moments. Going underwater, going from this, but like you don't care about any of these people. Like I know nothing about them. It just starts and it just goes.
Well, with Bad Boys, the biggest issue I have with Bad Boys for Life, because you know I love my Bad Boys. You know I love my Bad Boys. Next to me here in a poster frame, I have a Bad Boys 2 theatrical poster sitting next to me, and I love my Bad Boys. But I know this is not a Michael Bay film, but it didn't have that Miami feel. There's a lot of exterior shots in Miami, especially the South Beach Boulevard stuff, which is cool. But a lot of it felt like it was shot in Atlanta, and there's a lot of green screen moments, especially them in the car. I'm like,
the car is definitely the worst green screen out of the whole series for sure.
Like, man.
And it was blue screen too. I saw the behind the scenes. They actually used the blue screen for it. I was like, you don't see that too often anymore.
It was cool. Yeah, you're driving in the beach right in the beginning, but then when they cut to them inside the vehicle, I'm like, man, that looks bad. Damn, that looks bad. And then there's a couple scenes where like they're supposed to be in Overtown, and you're like, that's not Overtown. Like, man, where'd you find that place, man? Like, it looked.
But yeah, that's just one of those things. Like, you know, people that aren't from there aren't going to give a shit. Like,
a motorcycle chase, you could tell is not Miami.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, I'm a Miami.
Another example is you remember Too Fast, Too Furious is another example. There's like this car chase, and like you hear like the police helicopter above. It's like, oh, they're heading south on 95. I was like, that's the turnpike.
But it's still Florida. But it's still Florida. It's still Florida. But yeah. You're like, that's not 95. That's the turnpike. What are you talking about?
Yeah, come on.
First off, that was a 95. They would be going. There'd be a lot more cars on that road.
Oh yeah.
But that was my only issue. I was watching it. I'm like, don't get me wrong. I still think the movie deserves an Oscar, but
it just might get nominated.
I was just like, and you know my gripe. You know my gripe with the reveal at the end. So I don't want to give anybody any spoilers. You already know my gripe with the reveal at the end.
I like the reveal.
No, I didn't have a problem with the reveal. I had a problem with
the
details of it. I guess the details of it. I mean, whatever. For people out there who haven't seen it, go watch it. It's Bad Boys. Another disclaimer for everybody that Alecc loved this one. For the record, he does not like Bad Boys 2, which I believe is probably one of the greatest action movies ever made.
I like three scenes very much in the movie. Obviously, the scene with them interrogating Reggie, that was a nice callback in part 3, the way they did that. The deal gone wrong with Gabrielle Union that turns into the car chase, that was amazing. And the carousel camera work, going around the shootout in the house. That was pretty inventive. I thought that was really cool, which Michael Bay brought back in the first Transformers. You could only do that trick once.
Really?
I think. You could only do that once. And it was great in Bad Boys. And then see it in Transformers, like, all right, well, he's just doing the bad boys
I
thing.
guess.
Just
I
think
mean,
of something
Nolan
else
does
like
that
this.
whole thing when like the characters are speaking and he goes around them instead of doing like a cut, then a cut, and then like doing that. You know, he
Right.
just does a whole like the Batman. He did it in Batman. He goes around them.
Like on all the rooftop and all that. They always did that. Yeah, I get you. But yeah, I own Bad Boys too.
Of course, you're a collector. You have to have the set.
If I had to rank them, I'd go even though I was pleasantly surprised with part 3, I'd still go with number 1 as the best for just overall vibe and like Martin Lawrence, young Martin and young Will kind of just hitting their stride. I thought they were great in that. Then I go 3 and then I go 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with Bad Boys for Life, that was as of right now, and it would probably stay that way, the biggest hit of the year, box office wise. What's your thoughts on this potential war between AMC and Regal and Universal or studios in general, and the possible rumor of Amazon purchasing AMC, which might have been debunked, but might be happening?
Man, there's a lot there to unfold, right? So let's start off with the game of chicken, as I would call it. I think that's what I texted you a week ago, whenever it broke out. It's a big game of chicken because AMC came out. If anybody doesn't know or maybe just read clickbait titles, they're talking about they're never going to show. Well, they are not. They're banning Universal films from being shown in their locations. For how long? No one knows, because there's no way you're telling me that you're going to throw away Fast and the Furious and Jurassic World 6 money. There's just no way. There's no way.
Just because they threw Trolls on VOD early.
It's the most ridiculous thing. And then the next day, Regal jumped on board. And I'm like, okay, why did Regal jump on board? So when Regal jumped on board, it definitely made things a lot more interesting. We didn't get the trifecta yet. Which is Regal, AMC, and then Cinemark. We haven't gotten that yet. So Cinemark is just standoffish. They're not doing anything. They haven't said anything. Universal, then the third day, pushed back and said, we didn't do anything wrong, which I agree with them. They didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
What are you going to do, shelf a movie for a year? A Trolls movie? What are you going to do? It's Trolls. It's Trolls.
Yeah, it's worth it to shift off Fast and the Furious because that movie's going to give you $1 billion.
For sure.
Like,
and then on top of that, it's a game of chicken because what are you gonna? Are you calling out Universal right now because you want other studios to be aware of what's going on and that you'll quote unquote do the same with them? However, are you really going to do that to Disney when they put Artemis Fowl on Disney Plus? Are you going to do that to Warner Brothers because they've already announced that Scoob, the animated version of Scooby Doo is coming out on video on demand? Are you really going to shut out 3 studios now? So was it like, hey, we're ready to pull the trigger, you guys better not? Because let me tell you right now, I don't care what you do with Warner Brothers, I don't care what you do with Sony, nobody's pushing the mouse around. That's a fact. You do not have any leverage over the mouse. I don't care how low their stock drops, you will never push the mouse over. So it's a game of chicken, and I don't think the studios are going to back down, especially Disney. I don't see them turning around going, oh, we changed our mind, we're going to release it. No, they're not going to. And Universal doesn't seem like they're going to apologize. So I think once you start incorporating other things like AMC being bought out by Amazon, okay, that's interesting. How is that going to work? Because back in 1945, there was a big case that went to the Supreme Court of the United States, which was the United States versus Paramount Pictures. And believe it or not, this was finally a lawsuit that took like 4 or 5 years to get there. They actually cinemas, movie theaters have been trying to get that lawsuit going, but it had been actually stopped by Theodore Roosevelt when he was president, and it's just been getting postponed, and finally in 1945 it went to court. It was it's a bunch of things in that law that got passed, because back then, very well, and I don't know if a lot of people out there who are watching this or listening to this would know, studios had a lot of leverage over actors, movies, music. Like, they put you on a contract. That's what you wanted when you were an actor. I wanted to get a contract, but if I was on a contract with Paramount, I couldn't go do a movie at Universal. You know, I couldn't go do a movie at Warner Brothers. So this is how they were able to eliminate that monopoly that studios were making money. Like, they were making stupid amount of money. And then it also prevented studios from owning a movie theater. So, and I think that was in 1945 or 1948, something like that. You know, way before I was born, before my parents were born. So it was something that got passed. So their studios are technically not allowed to own their own exhibition, right? The only there's a few not examples, but there's a few that are allowed to bypass that law. I know Universal City Walk has a movie theater, but I think it's owned by Regal. Okay, so it's AMC. I don't remember which one at Orlando is run by. That might be an AMC too, or it might be a Regal. There's the El Capitan, which is in Hollywood. They get away with it, from my understanding, or what I've been told. This is I was told like 10, 15 years ago. They only have 1 or 2 screens, and they do like big premieres on Hollywood. Yeah,
it's a show, right? Like
it's not, and it's right across the street from the Man Chinese Theater, on Hollywood Boulevard, and it's a big show. So they'll close everything down, and they'll do big Disney premieres there. But the funny thing is when I worked for ArcLight in LA, I don't know if things have changed. The ArcLight in Hollywood has the big Cinerama Dome. And if there's a Disney movie playing at the El Capitan, because that's their movie, they don't let it show at the Cinerama Dome. And that's another intricate part of how things work in the movie theater industry. If you're too close to another theater, you can't have maybe a certain movie or more prints than that movie theater, depending who does more business. So let's say you're a mom and pop theater, and this is AMC with 35 screens, and they're going to hold 15 Avengers. You might get 2. You might get 4. So it's this weird market that's done behind closed doors. And then with the El Capitan, Cinerama Dome doesn't get anything. Or if Disney's nice enough, they might give it to them, but they're like, you can't put it in the Cinerama Dome, which the Cinerama Dome holds like a couple hundred people, you know? Yeah. And so it's like, so now we're losing business. Yeah, we can do 1 or 2 theaters, non-3D, or maybe only 3D. Then you lose more business because nobody wants to pay in LA, which is $25 a ticket for a 3D movie. So who's, not everybody's rich in LA. So what do? What, you drive across town for an hour and a half in traffic, and then you watch it at some Regal.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things going on there, man, and I believe studios are going to budge first. I think they're holding on to an old way of thinking, a old style of doing things. They don't have the leverage that they used to. But NATO, man, the National Association of Theater Owners, they're bullies. They don't care, and I was thinking about this today before our podcast, which was 10, 15 years ago, like people like Spielberg, people like Nolan, all would back up theaters, the movie-going experience. But putting the movie-going experience aside, they would back up the theaters, that you needed to put movies in theaters. And even the Oscars. The Oscars would not... they're actually making a few relaxed rules this year for movies being accepted to the Oscars. But they still have to run in LA and New York for 7 days.
Yeah, it's... I feel like that's always been the rule. You need to run in New York or LA for 7 days, but they're allowing streaming movies. Like, it feels a little bit like just kind of bullshit. Like, why don't you just make that the standing rule? Just do it for this year. And it's funny the articles that talk about that. They'll put pictures of like Extraction or something like that. I was like, no, that movie ain't getting nominated for nothing, man. Come on.
So it's weird. It's like this weird old way of doing things, because when you have more and more directors working for streaming companies, you got Scorsese, who's done stuff with Netflix, who's going to be doing stuff with Amazon. He's bringing De Niro, and he's bringing DiCaprio. Who knows? 5 years from now, Nolan might change his mind. Spielberg might change his mind and go, well, Warner Bros. Is not giving me $1 billion to do this movie, but Amazon is. I guess I gotta. I
Yeah.
guess I gotta eat my own shoe and go work for Amazon. You know,
Well, Nolan actually likes the Amazon model as it is right now, which is like what is it, 90-day theatrical window, and then on the Prime right after that. He's cool with that because that's pretty much all you really need, mostly for movies now. Is anyway 3 months, and then it's kind of done anyway. He's just completely against Netflix, like because it's just like automatically streamed. But I know that Irishman premiered in the theater for
they
a
did
couple
both,
weeks, I
right?
think, before it
No.
debuted on.
Well, it got limited release.
But it was like a couple. There was a couple weeks lag between. Yeah, there's at least a week
But
or
it was
two
like
lag
New York,
between
Chicago, LA,
Yeah.
San Francisco,
the major cities.
you know,
Yeah, yeah.
somebody in Milwaukee is probably not gonna be able to catch it, or probably even in South Florida where we live, it's not gonna be able to catch it. Vegas, we didn't get it. We didn't get it here in Vegas, or at least I don't remember getting it in Vegas. Yeah.
So with where you're talking about the law that was set in place, 1945, all that kind of stuff. Would that make it impossible for, let's see, like a Netflix to have a theater chain where like members could just come in, they have like a scanner or whatever, they scan their thing, and they could watch a Netflix movie on the big screen for this limited amount of time or whatever?
I think those are two different things. So I think if Netflix were to open a roadshow theater, right, where you can come in and you can watch, like let's use HBO for an example. You want to come in and watch HBO Game of Thrones on the big screen. If that's not going to impede in business on a Regal or AMC theater because you're showing a specific, only your specific made movie there,
Exactly.
I don't think so. But I don't know. And how do you sustain that if you're just letting people with their membership, unless you increase a membership or make a different membership package? How do you make money?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you have to bump up the membership package, a couple extra bucks for whatever. You'll be able to watch the movie, whatever movies they actually have available to show on the big screen, and then obviously you make more money at the concessions and stuff like that, just like any other theater would operate. But it'd just be Netflix movies. It's all you could see.
Maybe I don't know
Netflix
what the
movies.
workaround is. To be honest with you, I don't know. I know they do showings there in LA at their they have their own cinema there at their studio or at their office, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been to a couple pre-screenings where you go and you screen the movie before it gets released, and you get to like do a Q&A, and you have to fill out a non-disclosure card that you're not going to talk about the movie, and then like in the middle of the movie there'll be like a big card that would flash up and like insert this scene, or this scene's not done, right? Like you watch all these
Right.
test screenings of movies, but I've gone to the actual studio to do that, to watch test screenings. So I don't
Yeah.
know. That's a very good question. I've never thought about it, but I think theaters need to be careful on how they're throwing rocks, because they're in a glass house, and they don't have that pull anymore. This is not Rush Hour 2. And if anybody who doesn't know Rush Hour 2,
Right.
I forgot what the reason was, but Regal did not allow Rush Hour 2 to be put in their theaters back then. Like they were like, something happened. It was something with New Line. Was it New Line? Yeah, I think it's a New Line movie.
Huh.
And it was
Yeah.
like something with New Line, and they were like, okay, we're not going to show Rush Hour 2. Boom. And it like barely made any money. It barely made any money.
Sure.
And that was like a big deal. This was what, 2002, 2000, something like that. And
It had a big opening though. It
but
definitely
it wasn't
opened big. I remember
back
that.
then. It was in what, 5,000 different
Yeah.
cinemas or something. So for Regal back
Yeah,
then
that's
in
true.
2000, 2002, that's a lot of pull. They don't have that pull now. They don't have that.
Yeah.
And it's,
And Trolls is not the best example, right? Like it's obviously like it wasn't in theaters at all. It wasn't like pulled. Like it just had a release date, and now everybody's at home. So it's a kids movie. So like do you think that like one, it's a bad example, but two, like would this kind of like would people overreact? Studios overreact to this? Like, oh, maybe like we got to find some kind of workaround, maybe a shorter theatrical window that we could actually still take advantage of this whole VOD thing, or that the theater's just going to blink or swerve out of the way and be like, let's just stick
first
to
and
how we're
foremost, I
doing
think
this.
they're going to stick to whatever the almighty dollar is going to let them, whatever is going to be their ROI, right? That's the first thing they're going to look at. They don't care about quality. They don't care about the community of people. They don't care about the experience, whether you're experiencing it at home, or they care about where's the more bang from our buck. because we need to make money on this ROI, and I think that's what they're going to look at first. Hopefully that path is better for the consumer.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think movie theaters are going to have a hard time getting the wheels moving, especially with restrictions. I'm sure everybody's been seeing the restrictions that they're having in stores that are opening up across the country. You have to wait in line to get into the store. You have to wear a mask in most stores. Costco, you have to wear a mask. They're handing out masks. Okay, so am I going to have to feel uncomfortable going to a movie theater, sitting separated from other people, and still pay a lot of money? Because I can tell you right now, theaters are going to jack up their prices on concessions. Maybe not right off the bat, but I can tell you come October, November, excuse me, they're gonna rack up those prices. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, it was $9 for a large popcorn, now it's $11.50, and you're like, oh my god, because they want to compensate, they want to make that money, and that's sadly what it comes down to. So I think video demand is here, and I just don't think people want to accept it, and that's what's sad. That's the sad part about it. They just do not want to accept it. But I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I think there's a good amount that do, but then there are those stubborn people, and unfortunately the stubborn people have large, loud voices that are just not going away. But I feel like Nolan's one of the very few that's he's definitely holding on to the theatrical experience, and I praise him for it because I love seeing his movies on the big IMAX screen. But yeah, there has to be some kind of give and take.
But I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. What we talk about today on Tuesday, May 12th, come 6 hours from now, the president will be on the TV and be like, "Well, we're going to shut the country down again." And you're just like, "Oh my god! Like, what do we do?" So
going to shut down this perfect economy, the best economy anybody's ever seen.
I can't even do an impression of him. That was a much better impression than I can do. But we'll all see, man. It's all about COVID-19. So I don't know. It's changing the movie theater landscape for sure. But what do you think it's going to do to movies in general?
I hear that I was reading up on Kevin Smith, and he was writing Mallrats 2. I forget what the subtitle's called, but he was getting it ready to go, and then he was like, "Oh, I got to do a new draft now. I got to work in COVID-19 because how could you ignore it? It's everywhere. You can't just move on and not address it." And I was like, I don't know, I feel like with Kevin Smith and the kind of writer he is now, it's going to be such a dominant thing in his movie. It's just going to be all over, and there's going to be random
signs
jokes thrown around
everywhere.
it, sex jokes, fart jokes, all this kind of stuff is going to be all tied into COVID-19.
Kevin, if you see this, don't do that.
And
no,
don't do that, man. you're better than that. You're better than that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess in some cases, it's okay, and maybe sometimes it doesn't need to be addressed. Maybe it could just be characters wearing masks in the background, and audiences just know, But also, I feel like maybe audiences just want to escape. We've been stuck at home watching the news, reading this, reading that about COVID-19 restrictions, everything like that. Once movies start getting made again, I feel like, at least me, I would want to watch a movie to escape.
So you know what?
From all
Maybe
that
those
shit.
dystopian future movies might come back in. Maybe some more Fifth Element movies.
Maybe, yeah. There'll be some greenlit stuff. The world is wiped out by something worse than the coronavirus.
Man, we went straight to the Book of Eli,
COVID,
didn't we?
COVID 20. Yeah. COVID, 33 from 2033. Something that wiped out the half of the planet or something like that. And then they'll just go with that. There's definitely people thinking about that.
You know what, though? I am excited for the first, if it's done well, and I could totally see a John Krasinski being in it, because I don't really see him. There we go. We're back, everybody. Again, take 1005, because Gus doesn't know what he's doing. So we were talking about COVID-19 and different things that maybe scripts or movies might incorporate, because we were talking about how Kevin Smith has rewrote Mallrats 2, right? Mallrats 2. Yeah. And John Krasinski, hopefully he's going to be that one-dimensional actor that makes the first romantic comedy. where people get quarantined together and they hate each other and they go at it for 6 to 8 weeks, and then after that they fall madly in love, and then they get married, and that'll be the all tell all COVID rom-com, I guess. But yeah, we were talking about Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, like comedies wise, we're talking about romantic comedies. Let's talk about comedies. Like Kevin Smith. Have you been a fan of Kevin Smith since his time when he came on 1994, I believe it was, with Clerks?
Yeah, I was really young when he came on, but I've always been a fan of Kevin Smith from when I got introduced to him by the older people telling me, you need to watch this, and when I was younger I never really grasped it and understood it, except for Dogma's my favorite, but except for the one that really hit me the closest to home is Chasing Amy, because you can never have the girl that you want. You'll never end up with the for us it's the girl, right? But for anybody out there who's seen it, you can never end up with the person that you think you really want, that you've wanted. So the ending of that movie is like, wow, that sucks, but you're just like, that's life, Yeah. But I still think Dogma is my favorite because
Chasing Amy's is the one for me because, like you said, I guess the most realistic. But there's also just really good comedy there with Hooper X and his whole reveal. Like he's like this militant like character that he's playing, but he's like super gay when he's not playing it. I thought it was hilarious. The bloopers on that are really good if you watch the bloopers on the DVD. But Chasing Amy, yeah, Dogma was great. Great story. Really really smart film. Interesting. Linda Fiorentino's the lead. She didn't really. They tried to make her like a thing, like with Dogma and Men in Black, but she just never really took off.
Yeah, it was weird. She just disappeared. That was her in Dogma, wasn't it? Man.
And then Clerks, the first Clerks, like the first Clerks feels like a first movie. Like it feels like a student film. The acting's not great, but it's still impressive. Like he maxed out some credit cards to get it made. Shot it on film. And just got it in the right hands. And unfortunately, the right hands were Harvey Weinstein, but Harvey Weinstein made a lot of people's careers and destroyed a lot of people's lives at the same time.
Just look the other way.
But yeah, how about Kevin Smith's later films, like the serious ones, the Red State, the Tusk?
So I've seen Red State, and because I'm a John Goodman fan, I'll watch anything with John Goodman. Even Blues Brothers 2000, which is sadly not a good movie. But I did not see Tusk, which is the one he turns into something.
It's a weird movie. Justin Long plays a reporter that's like chasing down this story of a guy that had this weird friendship with a walrus years ago, and he wanted to interview the guy about it, and it goes down a few weird avenues. There's some. It's hard to describe without just watching it, but it's a strange film. Not necessarily a good one, but it's.
What's his name?
It's definitely original.
Justin Long.
Justin Long, and Michael Parks is the older guy.
Oh yeah.
He's in Red State, the preacher, cult leader.
He's in all the most all like those Tarantino films. He plays the same sheriff actually.
Exactly. Yeah, there's the same sheriff, Kill Bill, and I think he first Tarantino movie
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn.
Well, no, that's a Rodriguez film, but Tarantino's in it.
Yeah, it was Tarantino's script, though, right?
I thought it was a Rodriguez script. I don't know. I love it so much that I don't really care. It's fantastic. It's excellent.
Yeah, that's a fun movie. Clerks 2, back to his comedies. That's one that I really don't feel gets enough props. Like a lot of people just kind of shit on it, but I thought it was funny, and it was pretty brave for the comedy to put in there. Like you got like a dude fucking a horse in the movie. Like not that it's something that I seek out, but it's just like that's pretty brave to put in a movie that's put in the theater. Probably won't ever happen again unless you're like just Netflix or some streaming platform where you don't have to worry about going through the MPAA or anything.
Oh God.
I'm surprised I got passed. Honestly, I'm surprised I got passed to get an R rating. Because that was just so twisted.
Yeah, anything that makes fun of Lord of the Rings, I'm there. So when he makes what's his name puke is for me was the best. It was the best part.
I haven't seen any of his new comedies because they just look bad. Like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot just looks really bad.
Really? I haven't seen it, but
like,
I wish I could have gone. He was doing like an actual road show with it. He was actually going on tour with it, and I kind of wish I had jumped on that because he would be there. He would watch it with fans, and he would do like a Q&A, and
right.
I thought that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, he seems like still a great guy. He's definitely all about his fans, and like he owns up to his like shit, like his shortcomings as a director or a writer or whatever like that. Like it sounded like a horror story. Him working on Cop Out with Bruce Willis. That was like his only director for hire gig.
But it's hilarious. If you watch Cop Out, it's funny.
I gotta watch it again. I guess it's just like knowing the behind the scenes drama.
Yeah.
Like the movie felt like kind of off in some way.
Well, you gotta imagine for him, it must have sucked for him. I think he even says that he's like, I got to work with one of my dream actors, and he's a crappy person. Yeah. I wouldn't say a horrible person, but he's just a crappy person to work with.
They always say, never meet your heroes.
Oh man!
But there's some people I think that will. Like Tom Hanks, I'm sure everybody want to meet, and I feel like he'd live up. I feel like he'd live up to the praise.
To the hype.
Yeah, he'd live up to the hype. But Kevin Smith, he loves his comic books. Big comic book fan. He's got that show called Comic Book Heroes, right?
Is it still on?
I don't know if it's still on, but it was going for a while. But
I would watch it, but I was that was the show I would watch, and I was like, I would never go to that comic book store because I feel like everything there is going to be marked up.
Right.
For like period, everything you the comic book you can buy for $10 over here, it's gonna be like $30 there, and I'm just like, eh.
He seems to always have some kind of intel too, especially in like the DC universe, like what's going to be happening there. I don't know how much of it he actually knows, or he's just trying to stir the pot a little bit. But he's definitely a big comic book fan.
Yeah, as long as if he can release that Zack Snyder cut, I'm all there. I'm for it.
Do we need to see that though? Do we need to see Zack Snyder?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Has Zack Snyder done anything since 300 that we really look at and be like, oh man, I really need to see a Zack Snyder?
First off, I love 300.
I love 300. No, that's what I'm saying. But since then,
no, hold on. Dawn of the Dead remake was fantastic.
That's my favorite of his. I feel like every movie he makes is less,
Watchmen is the closest comic book movie to ever follow the comic book. They change the end of the world aspect of it from the comic book because they didn't. I guess my understanding is the studio didn't want it to be too wild because it actually involved some other stuff. But besides that little tweak, it's excellent. It's right here behind me. I highly recommend it.
It wasn't a bad movie. It was a bit of a bore for me. Like I respected it. A faithful adaptation. I was a fan of the HBO Watchmen because it didn't really have like much of a tie to the original. It was just its own thing,
really,
which I like.
But it had characters.
It had characters that you know from the comic.
Dude, it picks up like right after it. It's like I thought it was supposed to do something completely different. My buddy had to like sit down and explain it to me. It picks up right after that movie.
Sort of, but it still takes place current day though. It takes place like because the technology and everything uses. Obviously, it takes place now. Alternate reality now. But Regina King, it was cool to see her in the role that she was in. And there were some spotty parts, but there were some episodes that were just really like, this is great TV, and I don't know if it's going to come back. Damon Lindelof said he's not sure if it's going to come back. Everybody's moved on to other projects, so it's like
one and done. But
that's
whatever.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good tied up. Oneer. That's fine with me.
Did you see? What's the Ice? The exact name of it was the Owl movie.
Oh no, the animated one. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
it looked like a pretty film though. It looked like animation.
Sucker Punch could have been great. It could have. It wasn't. So I'll give people Sucker Punch.
And Batman vs.
Man of Steel is great.
They were boring.
No. Disagree.
Henry Cavill has got it just doesn't have a lot going on personality wise.
Really? Man. I think he's a phenomenal Superman. He's
got the look.
Let's make something clear. Hold on. Let's make something clear. He's never going to be Christopher Reeve.
Nobody is.
Like nobody's ever going to be Sean Connery from James Bond. Get off the high horse, people.
I think there's certain though, like there's a certain thing to actors that are not from here, European, Australian, whatever, that when they put on an American accent, a lot of times they lose a little bit of their like charisma, a little bit of their personality because they're a little focused.
Not
on,
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale's an anomaly, an anomaly.
Not
But
Christian Bale.
like you look at like let's
Not
say,
Idris Elba.
yeah, let's say I'm gonna give you examples of actors that aren't like great actors.
Not David Oyelowo.
Those
I
are
keep
those
going.
are real actors, man. Those are real actors. Henry Cavill is not a real actor. Henry Cavill
The
falls in
Man
the same.
from Uncle is great.
Man from Uncle's got such great energy, except for the two leads, like Armie Hammer
No.
and Henry Cavill. They're so boring. They're boring people.
Oh,
But like, think about it. So like, Henry Cavill's the same kind of guy. Sam Worthington and Jai Courtney, like they could do the job, but like that's about it. They're not going to bring a lot to it past.
Jack
doing the
Courtney's
job.
from Australia or New Zealand, isn't
Yeah,
he?
that's what I'm saying. Like anybody, like
Okay.
the sort of Sam Worthington. Sam Worthington's Australian, but like if you keep them with their native accent, they actually got some personality. Like Jai Courtney was one of the better parts of Suicide Squad, but like
Yeah,
you look
I
at him
give
in
you that.
other movies where he's got an American accent, dude's boring. Sam Worthington,
No, the problem
boring.
is the problem is those two characters, those two actors should not be first bill.
No.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. They should not be first bill, and that's I will strongly say that. But Henry Cavill, he did well. I guess he got to keep his accent, right? In The Witcher. Did you watch The Witcher?
I haven't seen The Witcher yet. No.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I highly recommend The Witcher.
He was good in Mission Impossible, but I feel like when it's an outlet for like maybe not having so much personality as a hero, is like you get to be the villain. Villains are fun. You get to have fun as a villain.
Yeah.
So like,
But-
I
but
think that's
we
better
both-
for him maybe.
But we've both agreed that one thing that series has missed since Philip Seymour Hoffman
He's
is a
great
good is a good
Oh
villain.
yeah, for sure.
So I think Henry Cavill, even though he wasn't the main villain.
Yeah, that's what bummed me out about the villain that they had for part 5 and 6, because that actor is really good. I forget his name, Sean something, but he was in. First time I saw him was in this movie called Harry Brown with Michael Caine. He played like this arms dealer, and he was fucking terrifying. He was really good, and he was really good in Prometheus. As the small part that he had, I was like, this guy's gonna kill this villain role, and he was so dull in part 5.
I think he was just so. He had to be so
controlled.
serious.
Yeah, exactly.
So aligned.
And that's why in
With
part 6 when I
short
saw him like with
sentences.
the beard and like angry from being in prison, like maybe he's gonna let loose a little bit, but they didn't really give him much to work with in part 6. It was more Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill,
Yeah.
But we'll see,
But
See
I
what
mean,
the next one.
what happens to Henry Cavill? Do you think? What do you think happens to these superstars that are? Well, Henry Cavill plays Superman, right? So what do you
Right.
think happens to superheroes who now want to be superstars? And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does not count because I don't know what it is about that guy. He just makes money. I don't
Yeah.
get it.
But still, like a lot of the money he makes is overseas. Like a lot of these movies that maybe not don't do so well in the U.S. do well overseas, and they keep like Skyscraper. That was not a hit in the U.S., but it made money overseas.
Yeah.
Because it had China actors. I think it was a Chinese production company. Like it worked its way around making a lot of money in China.
Well, I'll throw you a
But,
curveball. I'll throw you a curveball.
Okay.
What do you think about Extraction?
I thought it was a fun action movie, right? And Netflix was the perfect home for it. Like it's a movie you watch at home. It's got a couple good entertaining action sequences. It would absolutely flop in the theater. Like
Yes.
it's not a movie that would do well in the theater, but especially everybody's quarantined. That movie probably got more eyes than it normally would have for a Netflix movie because everybody's home. It was good timing for it. But Chris Hemsworth and all the Avengers and DC superheroes as a whole, they're not superstars. Like, yeah, they'll get your movie greenlit probably, but you're not guaranteed to make money anymore. Like, you're not going to make money off of them. It's not like having, like Tom Cruise from the 80s, pretty much up until his couch jumping incident on Oprah. Up until then, he was full, like, bulletproof. Like, any movie he's in, doesn't matter what it is, that movie is going to make $100 million minimum in the U.S. Even Vanilla Sky made $100 million. And all I had was his face on the poster. Like, that was just his face. Tom Cruise is in this movie, I'm going to see it. And it's going to make $100 million. Like, that was a guarantee. That doesn't happen anymore. Will Smith was that guy for a while, too. And I believe he made a good choice for his family by taking off after 7 pounds for a few years. Mm-hmm. But I think it was a bad choice career-wise because everything up until that point, like he was just killing it. Like he was making money. Like,
Yeah.
I Robot is a fun movie. I like I Robot a lot.
Which is sad because that's based off of a series of Isaac Asimov books that I read. And I really wish they would just be like, we're going to do a sequel, a quote unquote, another the other book for it. And it just
got away from it. Like in that movie with anybody else made exactly the same way, probably wouldn't have made any noise. But it was Will Smith, and Will Smith was a hit.
It's because they had Shia LaBeouf. That's why. It's because they had Shia LaBeouf.
So like Will Smith took some time off, and then he came back with what? After Earth? Who cares about that? Like nobody cares about doing a movie with your kid.
He got into this weird groove where it was like, I got to do things with my family.
Yeah.
I got to do things with my kids, and you're like, you could you could have found so many better actors, and I get you want to do things with your kid, but now your kid's kind of walked away from film.
Yeah. He's doing his own thing. He's doing music. He's doing like humanitarian type stuff. Good for him.
Fantastic, because he's never gonna have to work a day in his life. But
exactly.
you know, that opportunity could have been given to somebody who's going to school and training and working their way up, and you know.
I mean, nepotism's gonna always be around. I feel like if you're talented, like if you have it, then I'm okay with it. Like Jason Reitman obviously got a leg up because his dad's Ivan Reitman. Mm-hmm. But Jason Reitman's actually a really good filmmaker. Up in the Air was like one of my favorite movies of this century. Like I think it's a great movie. It reminds me of the '90s comedy dramas that we like grew up with. Like it was like a Jerry Maguire type movie. Like it hit on all cylinders. Like great acting, great writing, good drama, romance, everything, and it was perfect. It was just a perfect movie, and they don't make many of those anymore. And I think he peaked with that. But we'll see. I kind of like Tully. I don't know if you saw Tully with Charlize Theron. That was a good return.
Yes, the writer, right?
Yeah.
Adult, young adult. No, was
yeah,
it?
She came.
She did Tully,
Diablo
but,
Cody. Yeah, she came back.
Yeah.
They did. I think they did Young Adult and Juno together.
Young Adult was phenomenal.
But like I feel like that was a good little comeback for him. It didn't make a lot of noise, that movie, but I thought it was interesting.
Did he do Draft Day?
No, he did in between. He did Labor Day.
What was it? His dad that did Draft? Who did Draft
I think
Day?
his dad might have done Draft Day. Yeah,
Okay.
I never mentioned it. But yeah, so what was it? So yeah, like nepotism's going to be around. If you're talented, then good. Like Sofia Coppola is a great filmmaker. She's not a good actress, but she's a great filmmaker.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, so with what we're talking about, we got off a little.
Chris. Well, we're talking about Chris Hemsworth, and
Chris Hemsworth. Like Extraction would not have made any money in the theater. If you look at his box office, pretty much anything that's not Thor or Avengers, it's a box office flop.
Yeah.
Same with Chris Evans. Probably maybe Robert Downey as well. Like what has he done between? He did Sherlock. Sherlock Holmes were hits, but it's an established property.
I think those are boring. I don't know.
They're boring,
what it is.
but they're established properties. So like okay, and then but he did like The Judge and Soloist.
Yeah.
All those movies disappeared. Doolittle disappeared. Like
what was the one that he did? Was that Galifianakis?
Due Date. Yeah, that I think did okay.
Yeah.
Because it was Todd Phillips, so they promote it, director of Hangover. So okay, this looks funny, but it was like a poor man's attempt at Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Great movie.
I think. Well, I would put Robert Downey Jr. in a whole different category, and I would even be willing to put Chris Evans in a whole different category, and maybe Scarlett Johansson, because those three did a lot more before Avengers, and probably throw Mark Ruffalo in there. But people like Chris Hemsworth or Chadwick Boseman or other people are escaping me now because I'm drawing a blank. Jeremy Renner, those people, those can be put together because Born Legacy, right? It was Born Legacy that he did.
Born Legacy, yeah.
Didn't do that great. Cool idea. I mean, I showed up because of Rachel Weisz.
Honestly, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I thought it was a pretty good movie.
But I showed up for the actress, not for him.
Yeah, maybe if it was his own action movie and didn't have the Bourne name on it, then maybe it would have gotten a little bit. It had to have been a cheaper movie though if it was not going to have the Bourne name attached to it. But I thought the action was pretty good in that movie. Jeremy Renner, I think he's a good actor. I'm not sure he's leading man material, but I think he's a good actor.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Hemsworth is more of a second bill guy. I mean, they did Black Hat a couple years ago. And the problem with Black Hat is, I'm gonna tell you the problem with Black Hat. It's like 20 years late.
Yeah.
Because
who cares? Like the computer hacker.
It's like The Net with Sandra Bullock.
That movie's a bore. That's such a bore.
But made today. Well, but The Net in 1995.
Yeah.
great. You know, I have it behind me here somewhere on DVD. Great. In 1995, where she's waiting.
She was hitting her stride then,
yeah,
too.
she was in her
while
stride.
While sleeping and
but,
speed.
But imagine at the time, in a convention, with dial-up internet, trying to upload, you know, and she's like fearing for her life because they're coming through the convention, and she's trying to upload it on this centerpiece of a computer. Like, yeah, but now it's like you watch Black Hat, and they're like doing like this cyber warfare, and you're just like, this just seems boring. You know, like, this is taking a while. So
well, I think another slight against Black Hat is Michael Mann, since he went towards like the digital route. You know, like I think it worked. I think it worked for Collateral because LA has got that look to it, and it worked. But Miami Vice was awful, in my opinion.
Did he shoot Collateral on digital?
Yeah, digital. That was his first digital.
Really? Because he's one of those directors that used to shoot on tape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he used to get that look, that grainy look. It was weird.
Yeah.
But
which I think is what he was going for, and I think he achieved that with Collateral. I like Collateral. I love that alleyway scene where Tom Cruise just dispatches those two guys just like that. Like Tom Cruise puts in the work. Like him and Keanu Reeves, they're probably the best like gunsmith, gunsmen in Hollywood.
But
they know how to work.
They don't want to be bad guys.
They don't want to be bad guys.
Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder.
Well, Collateral, he was a bad guy.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but they don't want to do more bad guy roles.
Yeah, they should. You know, and I feel like, and you say Tropic Thunder, Tom Cruise should do more comedy too, because he's got good comic timing. He's always had it.
He should do a movie just of that character.
Oh yeah.
I'm there. I'll buy a theater. I'll pay for everybody's seat. That is phenomenal.
I wonder now though, you know, because he's kind of like, you know, a combination of all the sleazy producers in Hollywood, like. Probably not a place for him now in there, unless it's something where he's like trying to like revitalize his image or something like that, and trying to be a new type of producer. But he's having a hard time letting that go, you know. But Michael Mann, like, you know, so like Miami Vice, I thought it was garbage. Public Enemies could have been better. It could have been a good movie if it was simply shot on film or a digital camera likened to like the Red or the Alexa.
It just seemed messy. The story seemed messy. You watch it and you're just like, wait, what? How did we get here?
There's some entertaining aspects about it. Johnny Depp was good in it. But yeah, if it was just shot on film, like I was saying, like or the Red or Alexa, like just to make it look kind of like film, like the way it was, like with all the shootouts and all that, it looked like a History Channel recreation show. You know, like. Especially with this guy like tumbling down the hill like in slow motion, like, but it's digital. It looks like a home video camera. Like it just doesn't look good. And then Black Hat was the same thing. Black Hat, there's one scene, like anybody that watches movies as much as we do, they'll really notice that he straight up lifted sound design from Heat for one shootout sequence in the movie. It's like in a cave or some like bunker or whatever like that. But the echoing gunshot machine gun sound effects from Heat when they're shooting in the streets. And all that kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
So he just straight up lifted it from it, like the same exact track. Like he didn't use the same
he didn't
sounding.
Splice it in or something?
Yeah, exactly. He just took like the audio track and put it in. He didn't use like the same sounding thing. No, he used the exact clip and put it in.
But is it okay? Because it's his movie? Is it? It's not like when people borrow scenes from other movies, which we've known have happened.
I mean, Michael Bay did that. Like he did like. With The Island, he took a clip from The Island and put it in Transformers and added robots on top of it.
Yes.
That I think is just no. You come on, man. Like it's like a 1 or 2 second scene.
They did that.
Like, do you really need it?
I think they did that in Mr. and Mrs. Smith too, because that's the same Detroit road highway, and I think a few of those action scenes from Mr. and Mrs. Smith in the car chase, they lifted it from The Island, which is supposed to be the big drums of the train, wheels. It's supposed to be that Mr. and Mrs. Smith as well. I gotta
look at that again.
I think they did that.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith has a pretty big mistake early on. I forgot what it was. It was basically a car that he drives later in the movie. They use the front of it like in an earlier scene, and you could tell it's a different car at first, but it's super quick. But if you're watching, you'll notice it's super quick. And then when he pulls up to the house, it's his regular car. And later in the movie, you see him driving that car that they used a clip of. And I was like, okay. It's like the limo that he takes from the restaurant when he's dancing with her, and
I have to see it.
She blows up his jacket or whatever.
I have to see it. You know what? I've only ever seen I've only remember watching the director's cut, and that's the only thing that makes me sad is that they should have released a director's cut, because when they're in the home improvement store or the IKEA or whatever, and he's riding this little tricycle Brad Pitt, and he's taking both guns and he's going like this and shooting the bad guys as he's riding it across. I was like, that. Why is this not in the? Oh my god! But back to Michael.
So Bad Boys kind of stole that with Bad Boys for Life. He's doing that in the auto shop.
Kind of,
like on the cars.
kind of.
And then Equalizer tries to one up them with the home improvement store at the end.
Yeah.
But Denzel's probably like the only box office guarantee. Him and maybe Leo. DiCaprio's got a really good career right now.
Tom Hanks.
But is he a box office guarantee anymore? I don't think.
Yes,
so.
I think I think people will show up, and I think.
How did the Robertson, Mr. Robinson?
I think it did well. I don't know, but he's a guy that can go and do something as dramatic as that. Probably for people who are our age or even older, that would only go watch that, right? People in their 20s are not gonna go watch that because they don't know what Mr. Rogers is, or they didn't really get.
Right. Mr. Rogers, Mr. Rogers. I'm thinking of the SNL sketch.
No, it's called "Won't You Be My Neighbor," isn't it?
Won't You Be My
I think
Neighbor.
it is.
Yeah.
But I think he can do that, and then he can do something like Bridge of Spies, and then he can do something like, what was the Scully movie called? Was it called? No. Was it called Scully? What was the airplane one?
Oh, Sully.
Yeah. He could do that.
Yeah. That was a hit. Yeah, and the Bridge of Spies was a modest hit. Bridge of Spies was actually really good.
It's really good. I still do not agree, and I do not believe, and I will firmly plant and die on this hill that the supporting actor should not have beaten Sylvester Stallone out of Creed for that Oscar.
I agree with you.
Good actor, great actor. I take that back. Great actor, the guy who plays him. Yeah. I don't think he deserved it. Stallone got.
It goes back to I feel like it would have been a culmination, an honorary Oscar kind of thing for Stallone, just for his career. But yeah,
I mean, he has an Oscar. He has one.
Yeah,
but he doesn't have an acting Oscar.
No, yeah, that was probably his last shot. Let's be honest, that was probably his last chance.
Maybe, yeah.
Same thing with Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson had, I think, his one chance was Schindler's List, and Tom Hanks won for Philadelphia that year. Great performance.
Yeah.
But I think that was the one role that Liam Neeson had a shot at, was Oscar Schindler, and he's never going to get that shot.
There's another person. You don't think he can draw people to the theater?
He had a good run, after Taken.
Yeah. Which by the way was released in France for like 2 years. Then it came here.
Oh,
yeah, a year or two.
I think the director's French. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had Taken, and then he did Unknown and some other movie. Those movies, they bring people in. Yeah, but now that he talked about his past, where he was looking for a black guy just to beat up.
Yeah, it's a weird.
He might need to take a step back a little bit.
It's a weird space. What? I think I'm gonna be honest with you, because I forgot who he was sitting with when he said that. I think white people blew that more out of proportion than black people did. And from what I saw, I think white people were like, "Hang him," and black people were like, "Whoa, hold up, it's fucked up." But the dude said he was sorry. The dude said he fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of said he was sorry, but
he said he was wrong. He knew he was wrong. He was like, "This was wrong."
But he had a weird the actual wording of when he described it and all this kind of stuff. He just failed to say that was a different time for. He did say it was a different time, but he never kind of said I learned from my mistakes and my way of thinking, and I'm a better person for it.
Well, he's not Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg, people
he
forget.
Straight up beat up somebody.
He straight up beat a 70-year-old Vietnamese guy. Went to jail for it. And it was a hate crime that he went to jail for.
I think he got it expunged from his record too. In the recent years.
Maybe.
But I mean, it's not expunged from the internet. Everybody knows.
Yeah. Well, people were like, well, but Liam Neeson said he would have beat up a bad guy. But okay, yeah, I agree with you. It's fucked up. I'm not.
But Mark Wahlberg
actually went to jail for it. Oh, but he's cool, man. He just did that new movie on Netflix. But here's another guy, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah.
He had a good run. I think he had a good run in recent years.
He did that Peter Berg movie, went straight to Netflix.
Yeah, it's Spencer Confidential, right? But all their Patriot movies, did well. Patriots Day, Lone Survivor, and there was one other one, Deepwater Horizon. Those all did pretty well.
I feel like Peter Berg. This is Peter Berg's directing career right now. Is just.
Yeah. It's a bummer because I was such a fan of his stuff. Really, I love Very Bad Things.
Is it Mile 42? Mile 15? Mile 18?
Mile 22.
Great action, but I didn't love it like some people love it. It's not the Kingdom.
Yeah, it should have been better. Like for how simple the story was, it just should have been a better movie. It's an easy movie to do well, especially with Peter Berg behind the camera. He knows how to do action. The Kingdom I loved. The Rundown was a ton of fun.
Yeah. Good luck.
Hancock was great for an hour. And then there was that reveal with Charlize Theron, and the whole movie just like sank.
That's my dog. That's my one-eyed pirate.
And then he did Battleship. But then what I read about that, like
Battleship.
he did it so he can get distribution for Lone Survivor. So I can respect that.
Oh, okay.
Like you did one to get one.
Well, that's what Michael Bay does.
Okay,
he did a bunch of those Transformers movies, so he can do like Pain and Gain, and he can do a couple other. Passion.
I like 13 Hours. I thought that was actually a solid movie.
I like Pain and Gain.
That's probably
Pain and Gain is great.
Pain and Gain was
It's fun.
It was fun. Yeah. I think 13 Hours was a better overall movie. Probably his best serious movie. 13 Hours, I would say. But then there's the action. Like The Rock is my.
I was gonna say. I was like, you really think that's?
Yeah.
Really over The Rock?
I think it's a better like serious movie than The Rock. The Rock is just my favorite. Like it's just a more fun movie for me to watch, and probably one of the best Die Hard ripoffs.
You think it's a Die Hard ripoff?
But yeah, Die Hard in the jail. Die Hard on the mountain. Like the
I don't know, man.
Die Hard on the ship under siege.
No,
terrorists taking over.
I mean, the terrorists are taking over, but like the whole Sean Connery thing, and then that car chase with the Ferrari, which. Fun fact, I don't know how they were able to afford that because that movie was already over budget. So that must have been like a fake Ferrari underneath with just a shell. Because when they filmed that, they were already way over budget. So I don't know how they were able to even.
Well, if you look at when like the trolley smashes into it, it smashes pretty easily.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like there's much under the shell at all.
So, but yeah, I would never compare it to Die Hard. I mean, I don't know. I'm there. It's fun, and
I got one last superstar comparison kind of thing. How do you feel about Ryan Reynolds outside of the Deadpool series?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I really don't care for him in the Deadpool series. I like Deadpool, but I could live without it. Outside of that, if he's not doing his shtick of being comedic, I think I can enjoy him more. Because I think he does very well being serious. And he had that little horror genre for a bit, remember? Amityville. And
Amityville Horror. Then he did Buried.
Yeah, he did a couple of things. And then...
Yeah, he's a good actor. But, that doesn't bring people in for him. Even the comedy. Comedy is not always a guarantee for him. Like, I think that Hitman's Bodyguard did well because of Deadpool. And I think that was an anomaly. I was fully expecting for that movie to bomb because I think, it just looked like a movie that would bomb, and it was a fun movie. I actually liked it.
I didn't expect it to bomb at all. I knew it was going to make stupid money, but yeah, it was a fun movie. I was surprised that it made as much money as it did. Ask me that question. I don't believe anything until I see a trailer. So let me make that very clear. Until I see speculation and they're going to make this movie, until there's a trailer out, I don't believe anything. So ask me how I feel about him after his remake of Clue. Because I love Clue. Like, I love the movie Clue.
I think that movie could definitely go either way, considering the success that it might build on a movie that was inspired by Clue. It might build off of Knives Out success.
Yeah.
Which Knives Out was definitely influenced by.
Yeah, which is also Clue and Knives Out is influenced by it's a movie from like the 50s. Something murder, something. I forgot what it's called, but I don't know if he's gonna do a Clue remake. I don't know. I don't know.
We'll see. I think Jason Bateman was supposed to direct it at one point.
He was. He stepped out because he can't make it work with Ozark. And you're an Ozark fan. I haven't really watched Ozark. So I think people are probably okay with that because people want more Ozark.
Yeah. Yeah, Ozark was solid. He directed the first 2 episodes of The Outsider on HBO, which coincidentally I thought were the best 2 episodes of the season. And then it got really kind of deep into the supernatural kind of stuff, which I feel like maybe that's why Jason Bateman took I'm out after episode 2 because can't really wrap my head around this stuff. I kind of feel that's where he went with that. But Ozark's great. Yeah, I think it's been a good turn for him to go like movies. He did some serious stuff with The Gift. Did you ever see The Gift?
No.
Yeah, The Gift with him and Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton's directorial.
That's the one with Cameron Diaz, right?
And no,
Oh,
it's
that's
with,
The Box. I'm getting that confused with The Box. The Gift is
yeah.
where the Joel Edgerton's character, he's in it, and he shows up to their house, and like he's supposed to be like an old football friend.
They went to school together.
Something like that.
And,
I've seen part of it.
It's an interesting shift throughout the movie because like you're like, oh man, this guy's a total creeper, and then you start to like learn things about certain people. Like, oh, this is going a completely different way than I expected. Really great movie.
I'm a Bateman fan. I mean, I love Horrible Bosses. 1 is definitely better than 2, but I'm a Bateman fan, and I think.
Yeah, I couldn't even finish part 2.
Oh, I like it. It's not great, but you know, there's a lot of funny scenes.
I kind of have like I feel like Horrible Bosses is like the.
What's the name of your website? It's Nick.
What was it?
Nick. It's because when I forgot their names, it's nicksomethingdale.com. But when you say it out loud, remember Peel? What's his name? Isn't it? Key Peel from. Anyways, Michael Keegan.
Michael
He's
Keegan?
like Nickerdale.com. He goes, yeah, that's our website. He goes, your website is Nickerdale. That, and there's another scene in the movie, man, where they're trying to get like they're trying to get the upper hand on Christopher Wall and Chris Pine's character, and then you know what's his name, who's only good as a supporting actor. He's in he's married to Olivia Wilde, or Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, he's not leading man.
He steals the phone from Jason Bateman's character, and he goes, "Now who is the grasshopper who sits on top of the blade of grass?" And Jason Bateman takes it back. He goes, "Get off the phone!" Shit like that. But
yeah, the first one, like it kind of, I feel like it's a perfect example of mainstream movies, like kind of going there, but not fully going there. Like Very Bad Things was a fucked up comedy. Like it's a dark comedy. And like Horrible Bosses, I remember seeing the trailer. I was just like, the only way this movie could hit is if one of the bosses actually dies. Like one of the bosses has to die.
Which happens.
Like for this movie.
Spoiler alert.
For this movie to have any balls, but the way it happens is by one of the other bosses doing the deed for them, so they get to walk away.
Because that's the whole shtick, right? Like the whole shtick is they're complete idiots. They're just idiots.
Yeah. But like like Very Bad Things, like Jon Favreau, like he is deep in that shit. Like he's got his hands dirty, and I don't feel like a studio will go that route anymore. Another good example is the show on NBC, Good Girls, which I like a lot. I like the cast, but it's like about like normal women, married, all this kind of stuff, falling into like money laundering. Like they rob a place first and they fall into money laundering, and they always just kind of luck their way out of dirty deeds. Like you're like, oh, like the guy that they're laundering money for, like you got to take care of this person. So like they're about to do it, and then something else happens to that person, gets hit by a car by somebody else. So they're always still kind of good people, Like this season they actually got their hands dirty. Like I was like, oh, finally some real stakes. But then like later on, it's like some other stuff happens. Like all right, here we go again. They're just lucking their way out of it. Nobody's like going for it like cable would, like HBO. Or Netflix even. Like they would, and Netflix, if that was a Netflix show, they would have killed somebody themselves by this point. 3 seasons in, guaranteed.
Oh man.
But yeah, man, we're talking about all this stuff, talking about all these movies, all this current stuff. Like what favorites? Like do you have a favorite movie? Like I see Rocky behind there. Yeah, Bad Boys you were talking about. Like do you have like a specific movie?
This question gets asked me a lot, and I always try to make sure I clarify to people like. My favorite movie is because I asked some people and they're like, well, I'm like, what's your favorite movie? And they're like, well, I don't know, it changes from time to time. I'm like, no. When I ask you what your favorite movie is, if it's on TV, even if it's on crappy censored television, if it's something that can play in your DVD player every day on tape, DVD player, the soundtrack, that is your favorite movie. And for me, it's always been Rocky. It's behind me. I have various different posters of Rocky. I have it on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray. I don't plan on getting rid of it. I have it on VHS. Like I love the idea of Rocky, right? So and who Rocky is, and what it. People don't believe me when I tell them it's actually a love story. You know, and Stallone has said this, and Talia Shire have said this. It's a love story. It's a between these two characters coming together, and it's, you know, a million to one shot that he's able to get. But the idea behind Rocky, how it was made, how he had to sell his dog to make it, and then buy his dog back and give the guy a movie role.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, just how in these moments, whether it's in the movie, or whether it's the character we're talking about, or even Stallone we're talking about, there is stuff that happens that you think, wow, nothing's going to work out, and it works out. The ice rink scene, where they're ice skating together in that scene, how amazing is that scene with just two of them, right? He gives the guy, hey, I'll give you, give me 10 minutes. He goes, $10. He goes, this guy gives me a hard bargain, and he gives him $10. That scene was shot at 4 a.m. in the morning, dead cold morning. He showed up on a bus, supposed to have 200 extras. The guy who's on the ice rink is the only extra that showed up. And it's shit like he has to rewrite the script. Like, okay, because it was actually supposed to be both of them, like him not wearing his skates and kind of like going around people and trying to ice skate and them have a date. But how magical is it just them two? How did that work out? And his character goes through these stuff and him going through this stuff, and man, life's rough, man, and it's always gonna hit you harder than anybody else. So for me, it's always been Rocky, and yeah, I love Bad Boys. It's mostly movies that affected me growing up. I know Rocky's not the best movie ever made. The best movie ever made, in my opinion, is movies like Seven Samurai and Citizen Kane. Those are the top-notch peer. Anything by Akira Kurosawa personally is my favorite, but I love Rocky.
Yeah, there's definitely perfect movies. Even Aliens has a couple of mistakes, but I feel like Aliens is a perfect movie. Or more even recently, LA Confidential. I think that's a perfect movie. But I have favorite movies.
What's yours?
Over that. And mine is Shawshank Redemption. I even got a tattoo on my arm. Get busy living, get busy dying.
I never knew that. That's a fun fact.
But,
I never knew
man.
that.
That's my first and only tattoo. I want to get more, but that's the only one. It's going to be a long time before I get another tattoo. But no, man, I always loved that movie. I didn't get to see it in the theater, and it came out in the wrong year. I think even though it stood the test of time and people love it. Came out in '94. Came out against Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump.
Man.
The box office smash, Oscar winner, and the indie sensation that changed independent film forever. So it just got overlooked. But I think over time, I think people could acknowledge that Shawshank Redemption is a much better film than Forrest Gump. I love Forrest Gump, but it's a much better film than Forrest Gump. Arguable against Pulp Fiction because Pulp Fiction.
I was reading recently, not to change the subject, but my understanding is the character that Tom Hanks plays in Forrest Gump was actually supposed to be like a big fat guy from the book.
Oh, maybe.
And when they threw it to Tom Hanks, it changed or something. It changed to something like that. I remember Tom Hanks took some liberties and changed things around. But
yeah, Tom Hanks probably read it. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no, well, I think they rewrote it.
He's like, I still look good. I'm still relatively young.
I think they rewrote it for him because they were trying to get it made. Because that took a couple years to get made, and then I think when it finally got to Zemeckis, because it's Zemeckis who made it, and then when he wrote to Tom Hanks with it, it was like it had changed so many things already. But the book is a lot different than that.
Yeah,
because Shawshank is based off a book, right?
The screenwriter. Yeah, it's based on a novella from Stephen King. I don't know if it's called Shawshank Redemption. I think it's called. I forget the name of the actress. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's going to drive me crazy. The poster on his wall, but that actress's name and the Shawshank Redemption. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah. Shit.
But yeah, so
damn.
Yeah, I love that movie. The music's beautiful. Thomas Newman score. Great acting. Morgan Freeman. That narration is killer. It was that's a perfect movie, and also
Morgan Freeman's character is actually supposed to be a white guy with red hair. From the book.
So yeah. They made the right choice.
That's why
they made the right choice.
There's even a throwaway, not a throwaway line, but there's a throwaway line
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
Black
well,
Irish.
just before that, he goes, "Why do they call you this?" And then it's supposed to be kind of like a joke on the character itself. I mean, the most gut-wrenching scene for me in Shawshank Redemption is I'm trying to remember the old guy's name, but he gets released from jail. Yeah,
Brooks.
he tries to live his life, and he just.
Oh yeah.
That was like,
Just the music, like he's on the bus, he's like clenching the seat bar, like he's just terrified old man. But that speaks a lot to just incarceration and like you get used to this system and like you don't know how to do anything else. And I've seen that a lot working on certain shows. But yeah, Shawshank's one of those movies. Like it's on TV, I'm watching it. Like I'm gonna watch it.
oh yeah.
But everything about it, from like the writing, the acting, directing, the music, it's a perfect film. It seems like Frank Darabont's actually built his career off of Stephen King novels, Green Mile and The Mist. Did you see The Mist?
I did. I liked it.
That ending. Woof.
Man.
That's another one.
Man.
You probably won't see a studio movie today taking that chance.
Well, didn't they make a show?
They made a show. I didn't check it out. I forget what
either.
channel it was on. That was like on some throwaway channel.
I mean, they do. They will. They'll still take risks because if you watch the remake of It and It 2,
yeah,
they go pretty far. It like that. Did you see It 2?
Yeah, they go pretty violent with it.
The beginning?
I wasn't a fan of it too, though. I thought it was pretty messy compared to the first film.
But the extreme of that guy getting beat the crap out of him, and they're both gay. I was actually kind of like, whoa, they went there. Like nobody's mad.
Some people were mad.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, for me it's Shawshank. I got the tattoo. I got a couple posters. Judy got me a poster you'd appreciate with the certificate and everything. All the cast signed it, Frank Darabont and all that kind of stuff. So it's
you know what? I'm gonna send you a photo, and hopefully people out there can check it out. There's an artist named Paul Mann. I think I sent you his stuff before, but he did a Shawshank poster, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. Yeah.
It's gorgeous, and it's printed on this amazing paper, and it's the detail in it. You'll love it. You'll love it. And if anybody's out there, check out Paul Mann's work. It's great. It's not he's one of my favorite artists. But
yeah, the other poster I have of Shawshank is like more like a comic book kind of version of Shawshank. This artist Justin Reed does it, kind of like those drawings where like the head's bigger than the body kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I got one of those. I got a Fight Club one. He's pretty cool.
You showed me that one.
Yeah.
You showed me that one.
I think the last time I checked on him, he does like custom stuff. Like like you would come to him with a project of yours, and like he'll do like I don't know how much he charges. I'm sure it's a considerable amount. But
that's why you want to do a pool of it. You want to do a pool, and there's a couple of different. I don't want to go too far on the standards, but you can get like if there's a Facebook group and everybody chips in with like $125, and you get like 100 people. He'll do an AP for it. Takes about a year sometimes, so it's like an investment because it's his time, plus it getting sent to the printing press, plus it getting shipped to you. So it can run about $150, but then a market value on that, like the Mad Max one that I sent you a couple weeks ago, that sold for $150 by Paul Mann.
Nice.
And then it hits the market, it's like instantly $300.
Yeah.
You're just like, holy shit. I guess I'll wait a couple of years.
Yeah.
But hey man, I gotta call it.
Yeah, man, I gotta walk the dog. It's
kid.
about that time. I hear he's nudging my wife outside to take him out, so I gotta go handle that.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. If you're listening in your car, at home, at work, or wherever you are, thanks for checking us out. This is episode 2, and we'll be back at you with episode 3.
Coming soon. All right,
Coming
man,
soon, guys.